Bosses. Bosses are the thesis statement to any game's mechanics. Whether that game is an RPG, a shooter, or a fighting game, bosses are basically the benchmarks that test whether or not the player has sufficiently learned how the game plays. From the lowly tutorial boss that's just there to get you familiarized with the controls, to the final boss where you have to fight the goddamn Undertaker at WrestleMania to break his streak, it's safe to say that you've likely become proficient at the game to overcome these obstacles. It doesn't really matter how well crafted the player's mechanics are if all they're fighting is what basically amounts to training dummies, right? But what does it mean to be a good boss? And to be more specific, what does it mean to be a perfect boss for a video game? See, what I mean by this is a boss that allows the player to fully express everything that they've learned about the game against a formidable enemy. I'm talking about your Ornstein and Smoes, your Virgils, and your Jetstream Sams. The legendary ones where even after you played the game, every time you try to introduce a friend of yours, you just go, "Hey, dog, this boss, he kicked my ass all the way to Sunday. When you play this game, keep an eye out for him." I'm here to break it down for you guys by using what I believe is the perfect boss in Wuthering Waves, and that is Hologram Crownless. So sit back, relax, stay hydrated, and most importantly, I hope you all enjoy. Selling difficulty is, well, difficult. Not everyone's looking for an experience where a game is pushing back on you just as hard, if not harder, than you pushing against it. See, there's this stereotype that people who like difficulty enjoy it to a masochistic degree. That any kind of additions that make the game harder are a welcome one, but that's just not the case. There's a fine line that devs have to toe between difficult but doable and just outright unfair. And while finding that Goldilocks spot is an arduous task, realizing when you're in the shithole is very, very easy to spot. Case in point, one of the most notoriously annoying boss fights in Wuthering Waves is the Morning Aches, a flying boss that has a ridiculous habit of whizzing around the arena and completely borking your lock-on. And even when the camera decides to work with you, you have to deal with extra jank, as the boss is prone to levitating several feet in the air, despite performing its grounded moves, leaving you entirely unable to punish it during its vulnerability window, and in some cases, the hitbox of those attacks still manage to clip you even when it's still in the air and you're standing on the ground. And worst of all, Morning Aches has a nasty little debuff it likes to apply on your Resonator that basically chops off your legs, leaving you entirely helpless as it hits you with another fucking grab attack. No! That's not the kind of challenge that people tend to crave. The best kind of challenges in games are the ones where you feel like your losses were fully within your control. The kind where the game has given you complete freedom in tackling the problem with whatever resources you have on hand, be that through items, your abilities, or just your pure mechanical skill. When you're sat there and staring at the game over screen, you don't have anyone else to blame. The only reason for your failures is because you failed to meet the game's expectations of you. Crownless perfectly encapsulates the latter principle. But you might be saying, "Hey, isn't Crownless the tutorial boss? How is he any difficult?" You must be really bad at the game if you're having trouble with him. First of all, I'm glad you asked, random citizen. Second of all, why would you say that? That's so mean. I'm just trying to make a fun video for you guys. Anywho, the crownless I'm referring to in this video isn't just the regular base crownless. I'm talking about hologram crownless. For those of you who don't play the game, a hologram boss is basically a souped up version of the bosses in the game. Their stats are enhanced out the ass, they gain new moves, and now you have to fight them under a time limit or risk imminent failure. Fun! Now, this version of Crownless is the kind of difficulty that I absolutely love. See, like I mentioned before, the best kind of bosses are the ones that reinforces the game's mechanics, and it allows you to fully flex your skills in the game. Two of the most important defensive mechanics in the game are the parry and the dodge mechanic. The former allows you to bat away a parryable attack by timing your attack when the circles that appear during their startup frames meet together. Not only does this interrupt their attack, which leaves them vulnerable to a follow-up, but you'll chunk out a massive chunk of their stagger bar. When you manage to reduce that bar to 0, the boss is entirely left open to attacks from your whole gang, leaving you to do massive damage to the boss. Dodging is exactly as it sounds. The dodge mechanic in this game has invincibility frames that not only slows down time when you do it perfectly, but it will also allow you to perform another counterattack. This attack also removes a rather sizable portion of their stagger bar, though it's not as pronounced as when you perform a parry. And because of these mechanics, it largely incentivizes the player to parry at every opportunity despite the risk, because the reward for successfully countering an attack is a lot higher than you would get from dodging it, right? Now this is where Hologram Crownless makes things just a little bit more interesting. See, in his first phase, he doesn't bother pulling out any weapons. No. Instead, he opts to beat you into the ground with his bare hands and feet. While he's in this phase, he has no parryable attacks, and he does not have a stagger bar, forcing you to entirely rely on your dodging skills, as well as your ability to make openings wherever you find them. But how do you make openings on a boss that doesn't let you stagger them? Well, the devs made a wonderful decision that allows you to actually juggle the Crownless when you punish his little Shoryuken attack. A sadly overlooked aspect of the game is how awesome it is to juggle your opponents and leave them in the air as you're hitting them over and over and over again so that they don't hit the ground. See, most elite and boss units in the game are entirely static and are glued to the ground. You cannot put them in that juggle state. If you get him in his juggle state, you could very well take out massive portions of his health bar that can outdamage the amount of hurt you can output even when you would stagger other bosses. That's sick! Right now, he's the only boss you can do that to, and as far as I'm aware, you can only juggle him in his first phase. Kuro, please, if you were to ever answer any of my prayers, please introduce more juggling opportunities on elite and boss units in your future patches. I would love to be able to do this on more than just cannon fodder. Thank you very much. Moving on, let's say you do manage to get to a second phase. Now, you have finally earned the right to parry him. You have earned the right to stagger him, and you have proven that you earned the right to beat him. Now he's taking you seriously. In his second phase, I'd describe Crownless as a cornered animal. He'll attack you at every opportunity he sees, and he'll leave you with very little room to breathe. But hey, you can parry him now, right? That makes him a lot more vulnerable, right? Oh no. Yeah. Unlike the other bosses in the game, Crownless will actually attack you after you parry him. He only really gives you a window to damage him once you parry the follow-up attack that he performs after that one. So you continue to fight the Crownless, and now you actually manage to reduce his stagger bar to 0. You finally have a window of opportunity to hit him until he stands back up. Nope. Like I said, he's a cornered animal. He's not gonna give you anything for free, because as soon as he stands up, he's going to attack you before returning to neutral. It's all these extra bits coupled with his already robust moveset composed of attacks that are either very telegraphed or come out at lightning speed that makes it impossible for you to engage with the Crownless on autopilot. And that's why I find him so enjoyable on a challenge level. You have to be very good at every aspect of the game if you want to stand even a snowball's chance in hell to defeat him. The more you master the game, the more you're rewarded in this fight. And that is an aspect of the Crownless that is absolute perfection. By the way, if you guys are enjoying the video, I would greatly appreciate a like and a subscribe. I'm trying to put a little bit more oomph into the editing, and that takes a little bit of time and effort, and your support helps a long way. If you guys have any bosses in your mind that you believe fits the description of your own perfect boss, comment down below. I always love replying to you guys down there, and with that out of the way, let's get to the next segment.
Oh, you're a villain, all right. Just not a super one.
Yeah? What's the difference?
Presentation!
Presentation is definitely a lot more of a subjective aspect of a game. It's hard to really pin down what makes a good presentation because it usually just comes down to a feeling or a vibe. It's even harder because it can encompass a lot of things. Visuals, music, storytelling, all those things come together for a video game boss that really elevates it far beyond just the mechanics alone. There is a lot of layers that we can peel back so that we can fully appreciate a video game boss's presentation. One of the easiest for those that are more visually inclined is the boss's design. The way that a boss is shown to you can drastically alter how you perceive them. The visuals of an enemy alone should be enough to tell you a story, especially when it comes to a boss enemy. Imagine going through a dungeon that's basically just filled to the brim with monsters ranging from giant rats, to frog-looking things that can turn you into stone, and slime creatures that can suffocate you if you're not careful. Then you walk through a clearly marked entrance to the boss arena, and you see this as your enemy. No way, no sir, no how. That thing's gonna eat me and shit out a bucket full of guts. And you're telling me I have to fight that? Another layer that we can peel back on this presentation onion is the music. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen Baldur's Gate 3, but one of my favorite boss fights purely from the presentation alone is the boss fight with Raphael. He's a devil who, depending on your playthrough, is either a useful ally or a bitter enemy. For my playthrough, he was the latter. Now, he doesn't really do all that much different when you confront him in this domain on a mechanical level. However, the song that plays in the background entirely shifts the mood you're in and completely elevates his status to an awesome boss in my eyes.
Hell, hell, hell has its laws. Hell, hell, effect and the cause. Curtain falls, but hold your applause. Squirm, squirm, for now down here come the claws.
Yeah, who wouldn't be hyped battling in the pits of hell when the boss himself is singing his own theme song? Lastly, a key layer that needs to be discussed is the storytelling. I don't know about you, but nothing gets me more excited to fight a boss than when a game gets you to hate them through the storytelling. Meet Ramon Salazar, the 8th Castellano Valdelobos. By all accounts, He's a smarmy prick of a nobleman who's been a thorn at Leon's side for a large portion of Resident Evil. He's smug, cowardly, and he talks in a really annoying voice.
So maybe you have 9 lives, but it doesn't matter now, Mr. Kennedy. I've sent my right hand to dispose of you.
Your right hand comes off?
Say whatever you please. Die, you worm!
So by the time I actually got my hands on the mutated little basura, there was a lot of satisfaction to be had seeing the light leave his eyes. It's a crying shame that they retooled him in the remake. He lost a lot of his charm as an annoying little bastard because the tone was just a lot more serious when RE4 got modernized. All of this is to say that the Crownless very well fits many of the criteria I have mentioned above. Let's be honest, his design goes hard. In a world where you can fight giant apes, giant birds, a giant dragon, there's a lot of dragons in this game, I realize. There's something to be said about fighting what basically amounts to another humanoid. I am a huge fan of settings that are full of basically high magical beings, and having one of the most dangerous enemies just being a dude that's unreasonably good at fighting. To all my human fighters out there, your armor looks fucking sick, and your sword is really cool. If you need any more convincing on how cool he looks, just have a peek at his limited edition figurine. Look at how cool he is! And the wings! Come on! The only thing cooler than a dude with a sword is when he can fly and it can transform into a cape! But enough on the design, let's move on to his music. What does that music tell you? To me, it speaks of a warrior with a refined style. He's hardened by battle, and his blade is sharpened by the bones of his foes. He does not require overwhelming power to defeat armies, only a precise strike exactly where it's needed. You will fall by his hand. All it takes is the smallest of errors for him to destroy you entirely. And speaking of getting destroyed... While he doesn't serve a great deal of importance in the plot itself, his cutscene alone just reveals how much of a threat he is. In just a few moments, he has incapacitated all of your allies before you can even react. How could you even hope to match him in battle and make it out alive? Only your skill and your wit can bring you to victory. Except I lied! The cutscene that I just showed you was the cutscene that they used in the beta test of the game. In the release version, he just shows up to get his ass whooped and he doesn't even get to do anything cool. He doesn't kick anyone's ass, he doesn't get to monologue, that's it. The perfect boss? Get the shit out of here. I made this entire video because I'm still salty that the Crownless got gimped in the release version of the game. Kuro, I beg of you, I beg of you, I beg of you, please, make Crownless cool. Just change his cutscenes to the ones that you had in beta test, please. That was so much cooler. So those are my points for what makes a perfect boss and why the Crownless almost reaches that title. I also just wanted to talk about video game bosses and why they're so cool and the tragedy that can happen when the devs just miss a crucial element to them. I want to stress that I am ultimately talking about what makes a boss perfect for the game that they're from. Each boss can suit their game as well or as horribly as the devs designed them to be, and each game has their own perfect boss. But what do you guys think? Did I miss anything when it comes down to important details that truly turns a boss into something special? Do you think there's another boss in Wuthering Waves that's way better suited to be the perfect boss in Crownless? Let me know what you think down below. I'm almost at 100 subscribers, and that's crazy to me. I didn't expect for as many people to want to listen to me yap as it turned out to be, and I especially didn't expect for the comment section to be as lively as they are. Thank you guys so much for that. I love yapping about video games, and I'm going to do my best to give you guys the kind of content that you enjoy so that I can continue to give you guys more of that stuff. But in the meantime, you guys stay hydrated, stay safe, and most of all, I hope you all take care of yourselves.